What's going on, everybody? Sports Scuba Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. Thank you, everybody, for listening in here. It is finals week at Point Park University. Hope everybody has a great week, gets through the week, and has a good time with it and has a nice break, because this will certainly be my last show before the new year, before 2026, and before probably mid to late January. Longer break this year for winter break, and so looking forward to that, but this will be my last show before then, so looking forward to going out with a bang in 2025 here. The Sports Scuba Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. Got a ton to get into. I was contemplating, I've been a little under the weather past few days. I was contemplating doing the show today, but then I realized this will be the last one for over a month. That's one of the factors. Also, there is so many storylines to get into today. Obviously, the Steelers win the battle for the AFC North here, at least for the time being. Going to certainly get into that. We got a ton of college football. Notre Dame being left out of the playoff in favor of Miami. Miami gets bumped up. A lot of people complaining about the 12-team playoff, about how Notre Dame and Miami should both be in, how the group of five shouldn't have teams in there unless they're one of the 12 best teams in the country. So we're going to talk about all of that and all the different scenarios in that regard and what the playoff could look like. Also, some bowl games were announced. The bowl games were announced, and Penn State will be playing Clemson in the Pinstripe Bowl. How about that? If you had said before the year Penn State and Clemson will be playing each other, you'd think, oh, in the semifinals or in the national championship game. No, they're playing each other in the Pinstripe Bowl, the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl, which just shows how off the rails the seasons became for both Penn State and Clemson. So I'm going to be talking about that as well. Pitt, a lot of Pitt fans are disappointed in their bowl game and opponent. They're going to be playing East Carolina in the Military Bowl in Annapolis, where Navy plays. And, a lot of Pitt fans were unhappy about that. They were hoping for, they wanted to play Penn State or wanted to play maybe Arizona in the Holiday Bowl or something of that nature. SMU is going to play Arizona in the Holiday Bowl. I would have liked to see Pitt play in the Holiday Bowl, but I think Arizona's a good team, 9-3 obviously. But we'll get into all of that throughout the show as well. So, ton to get into, and also some throughout the NFL takeaways, because, it was a huge week that pitted teams fighting for the division against each other. You had Packers, Bears, you had Jacksonville and the Colts, just a lot of, obviously Steelers, Ravens, just a lot of big games. And a game like Texans-Chiefs, where the loser was going to face a very uphill climb to make the playoffs in the AFC. So just a ton to get into today. And thank you for listening in. We're going to start, as always, with the Pittsburgh Steelers and their 27-22 victory over the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday afternoon. A game where the Steelers got outgained, and especially in the second half got outplayed. I think they really took their foot off the gas, which they're kind of prone to doing at times this season, and sometimes they just can't even get it going to begin with. But in this game, the Ravens' defense is not impressive whatsoever. That final touchdown to Jalen Warren, nobody covers him out of the backfield. It was obvious Rodgers was going to throw it to Metcalf, or he was going to just dump it off to Jalen Warren, and he's wide open, and he's got so much room in front of him. It's an easy walk-in touchdown from 38 yards. This Ravens defense is not impressive, and the Steelers through three quarters were exposing that defense, but almost solely through the passing game. And you look at the fourth quarter, it just felt like the Steelers were out of rhythm. And especially that last drive, you get the fourth down stop, and a first down almost really wins it, but 2 first downs win the game for you, and you win it on your terms. And instead, they predictably, I was like, don't do that. Like, you're trying to win the game. There's no reason to run the ball. You haven't been able to run the ball all game. And they decide to run the ball twice, and they get, 3 yards. And now it's 3rd and 7, and now they know you're going to pass. It's an incompletion. You waste no time. Now, the Ravens did have to burn 2 timeouts, but they would have to burn them regardless. So, if you just pass the ball and you get first downs like you've been doing all game, something to DK Metcalf or Pat Freiermuth, who was playing well, like something like that, you could put the game away on your terms and control the clock in the last 2 minutes of the game. And instead, they don't do that. The Ravens get the ball with a lot of time left, and they kind of, at times, messed up their execution in that 2-minute drill. They were just burning a lot of clock, and then they called their timeout, and they really didn't get too far. The penalty on the kickoff hurt, and then they had a hold, and so the Ravens are really backed up. But even then, they had a chance to win the game at the end. And fortunately for the Steelers, Alex Heisman makes a big play. Either way, nothing was going to happen on that play. And that would have been the final play, probably, or it would have been incompletion. There would be one more play. But Steelers get a gritty win. Neither of these teams are very impressive. Baltimore really is not impressive. That's why I said, like, the Steelers have no business really winning this game, but the Ravens don't really either. Like, the Ravens lost to the Bengals like a week and a half ago or so, and it was clear that they're just not the same, and Lamar's not the same this season through injury or whatever. And even the week before that, they played the Jets and they won 23-10 or 20-10 or something. But the Jets outgained Baltimore, and if not for a turnover that Baltimore capitalized on for a score, the Jets could have won that game. So the Ravens have not been impressive this season from start to finish. I don't see them winning against the Bengals again. This coming Sunday, the 14th, they play the Bengals on the road. I think the Bengals win that game. I don't see them, and then they play the Patriots at home. The Patriots are better than the Steelers, and the Steelers just beat them. And I don't see them winning at Green Bay. So I think the Steelers really locked up the division, I think, with this win. And so good for it just saves Mike Tomlin's job, maybe. I don't know. Who knows in that regard. But Mike Tomlin was coaching with a passion. Aaron Rodgers certainly seemed to play with a passion. He didn't like how the media was treating Tomlin, even though it was completely fair. But he's a quarterback sticking up for his coach, so you understand it completely. But Rodgers was on point. Why can't we see this for a whole game from the Steelers? This taking some deep shots. I mean, Rodgers was throwing some perfect throws on Sunday. I mean, the deep ball to Metcalf the first time was right on the money. Great catch, great throw. He throws another one deep to Metcalf down the sideline. That was a great throw for another big gain on the second or third drive. And on a big third down in the third quarter, he throws it deep to Calvin Austin in stride. And Austin, couldn't have placed it any better for Austin. He just runs. He's able to run with it 5 or 10 more yards after the catch and put the Steelers in position to score the touchdown. So Rodgers was on point there. Now, again, they're not using the middle of the field. All of these deep completions were on the sidelines. I just think you're missing a huge opportunity there, using the sidelines to your advantage, using the middle of the field to your advantage. We've seen this for years with the Steelers. They just don't want to utilize the middle of the field unless it's a dump off to Darnell Washington, which is a good play, but I think part of it's the receivers over the middle of the field not getting open. DK Metcalf usually is going to run down the sidelines on those deep plays anyway. And so there's a lot of factors probably, but they just don't throw it over the middle of the field. And I think they're missing the mark there. They're missing a huge opportunity with doing that. So that's still something you want to see. But, I mean, this offense is what it is. I think it was just so telling. End of the game. Steelers, be aggressive. What do you have to lose here? You're trying to win the division. And if you don't win the division, like, who cares? Like, these Ravens, Steelers, these are bad, not great football teams, very mediocre teams. Pass the ball 3 times when you have the ball with 2:20 left and get first downs and make the Ravens use their timeouts and take a knee to end the game. It was working all game, and they go away from it to run the ball when the Ravens stopped the Steelers, even when they didn't know the Steelers were going to run. Now when you know the Steelers are going to run the football, the Ravens stop it twice, and now you're in 3rd and long, and they take away any of your options. So I just thought the Steelers could have taken more advantage of that. At that late play, I think it just sums up Tomlin and Arthur Smith like living in their fears, and Arthur Smith and not letting Aaron Rodgers completely take over this offense. Because I think Aaron Rodgers, he understood the idea of running a couple times and making them burn their timeouts, but I'm sure he wanted to end that game on his own terms. And it didn't happen that way, and the Steelers are fortunate to get out of there with a win because the Ravens outgained the Steelers by 100 yards. They had 26 more plays than the Steelers. They ran the ball for almost 200 yards more than the Steelers. Again, Steelers getting gashed in the run game, giving up a ton of yards. I think they were better at times defensively in this game, but still this defense is a huge issue. But if you're the Steelers, you play the Dolphins at home on Monday night. They open as a field goal favorite, so they're saying these teams are about even, which is fair. I mean, Miami's on a 4-game winning streak now. Yeah, the Dolphins are coming in here into Acrisure Stadium on a Monday night hot. I don't know how that's a Monday night game. Maybe that should be flexed out. I don't know, but the Steelers get the Dolphins. They're at Detroit, which you think is going to be an L, because Detroit's still fighting to make the playoffs. And they're going to need every win they can get. So you're thinking that's an L for the Steelers. Then you play at Cleveland, which has to be a win, but with the Steelers, you just never know. And they have trouble in Cleveland past few years, certainly. And then you play the Ravens at home to end the season. If there's nothing to play for in that game for either team, then the result just doesn't even matter. So and that might be the case if the Steelers can win against Miami and against the Browns. So they could be 9-8 and win this division. That's very possible. Now with the Bengals losing to the Bills and they had a chance to win, that puts the Bengals with 9 losses, and the best they can do is 8-9. So if the Steelers win 2 more games, I think the division's theirs. But again, at this juncture, they would play Buffalo in the wild card game. And who's picking the Steelers to win that game? I don't know who really would. After what we saw last week and what we've seen with the Steelers all season. So that's what we're looking at with the Steelers. Again, a good win. There you go. You're 7-6. You're first place in your division. But again, and this is a year when the AFC is really wide open, with Kansas City down, with Buffalo down, especially defensively. They're a disaster. And with Baltimore down. But the Steelers aren't going to take advantage here. It's clear of that. So that's it for the Steelers. There's really not much to add. Obviously, there's a lot of talk and discussion going into the game about Tomlin, about his future, about everybody, about this franchise. And the team did a good job putting that aside and just playing. But I mean, this is not a great team. Everybody knows that. The Ravens, in large part, outplayed them. And Steelers are fortunate to come out with a win, but a win's a win. And bragging rights over your division rival is always nice. So there you go with the Steelers. They get the win, 27-22. Coming up on the other side of this break, I'll just talk NFL. Just while we're talking about the NFL, I'll talk some takeaways from the NFL. Then later I'm going to talk college football playoffs. Sports Scoop with Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM. And welcome back to the Sports Scoop with Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. Talk Steelers in the first segment. We're going to talk about some of these NFL games from Week 14 that were interesting and that had a lot of postseason implications. I'm going to start with Colts-Jaguars just to get it out of the way. That was a battle for first place in the AFC South. And it really wasn't a battle because Jacksonville blew out the Colts. Obviously, Daniel Jones, I think it was reported, tore his Achilles. He was playing really, really hampered already. And so, just a really tough situation for the Colts. And their season has gone from looking like one of the better teams in the AFC to potentially missing the playoffs. I think I will be missing the playoffs now because Daniel Jones is out for the season. And you're looking at what Riley Leonard or whoever to fill in at quarterback. And you play at the Seahawks. Next week you play the Niners, the Jaguars, and the Texans. So it's not out of the realm of possibility for all those games to be losses. And for this to end up being another one of those Colts seasons where they go 9-8 or 8-9 or something. And it had the promise to be a lot more. Certainly. As for Jacksonville, I mean, what a season for Jacksonville so far. 9-4. You get the Jets next week. You play the Titans still. You play the Colts again without Daniel Jones. They could win 12 games. And that's a huge success for Liam Cohen in his first season with Jacksonville. It really is. Just a tremendous job. Trevor Lawrence has been pretty solid. You know, in this game, threw for 244 yards and 2 touchdowns. They got a solid run game. Their defense has played well. They got some good weapons. So Jacksonville, there's a lot of upside right now with Jacksonville. If they could win this division, it'll be them or Houston, it looks like. Houston looks really good as well. We'll get to that game now. Houston beats the Chiefs 20-10 at Arrowhead. C.J. Stroud started off really good, and then he cooled off. The Chiefs in the third quarter defensively were elite. I mean, that was one of the better performances you'll see from a defense. In that third quarter, they were tremendous. The Texans had like -3 yards in the third quarter. And it was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And they got the Chiefs back in it, but just these turnovers. Mahomes had 3 picks, but the one Travis Kelce was bobbling at the end in the air. And it falls into the hands of, I think, Azeez Al-Shaair for Houston. There were a couple 4th downs that Andy Reid decided to go for. The one, I think, you just kick the field goal. The other, I think, you just punt it away. There's still plenty of time left in the game. In a 1-score game to win the game, or at least tie. So I just think some decision making that was a little bit rushed. I think this offense just looks really, really bad right now. Really out of sync. Travis Kelce was locked up the whole game. I mean, he didn't get any separation. I mean, Jalen Petrie was on him, the safety, and he did a really nice job. He literally had 1 catch for 8 yards, Travis Kelce, in this game. I mean, it was just crazy. The Texans' defense is elite. but if you're Travis Kelce, you gotta have a bigger impact in that game. In a game where now you're 6-7, and you have all winnable games to end the season, but how likely are you to win 4 in a row to end the season? I mean, they play the Chargers and the Broncos still. And the Broncos would love nothing more than to end your season in Kansas City without them making the playoffs. So I think it was just one of those years for Kansas City, and then for a team where is the dynasty over? It may be heading that way, or at least there needs to be big changes offensively with some of the personnel. And it may be time for Travis Kelce to hang it up. I mean, he's getting up there in age. He was contemplating it before deciding to play this season. He ultimately, obviously, is playing this season, but there is a question of if he might retire at the end of the season. He just doesn't look like he's having as much fun right now, and the team isn't. Certainly, they're out of the playoffs right now, and they need to win out to make the playoffs, which they could do, but their margin of error is incredibly slim. So you get the Raiders. I mean, they play a couple bad teams, but you play the Chargers and you play the Broncos still. So we'll see with Kansas City, but they're looking in really tough shape. And for Houston, I mean, they're 8-5. They've been on this winning streak with Davis Mills, and now C.J. Stroud's continuing it. Your defense is excellent. You got the Cardinals and the Raiders coming up. You play at the Chargers, which is winnable, and you play the Colts at home, which is very winnable. They could still win this division as well, and I think they're going to make the playoffs, certainly. I think right now it's 2 in the East, the Steelers in the North, 2 in the South. That's 2, 4, 5, and then Denver and the Chargers. That's what it looks like right now. The picture is sort of clearing itself up, and that's what it looks like right now in the AFC. But you can't count out Kansas City even now, I don't think. But their margin of error is impossibly narrow, it feels like. Other games, how about Packers-Bears? That was quite a game. Blow for blow, each team going up and down the field. And you got to give credit to the Bears. I mean, they were in position to win this game, or at the very least tie it, but I think they would have won for 2. And it's 4th and 1. I think they overthought it. I think your running game's been dominating all game. It's 3rd and 1, I would run the ball. It's 4th and 1, I run the ball. That's the identity of the Bears right now. And they tried to get a little tricky. They tried to go for the end zone, and they didn't get it. And it's tough, but the Bears are in a great spot this season. Ben Johnson's done an unbelievable job. So good on Chicago, even though they lose this game. And good on the Packers. They're now 1st in the North. Looks like they're in good position to win that division, although they play the Bears in Chicago in a few weeks. If the Bears win that one, then the Bears might be in front as well, assuming they beat the 49ers and the teams they have to play still. So still a lot to be figured out there. The Lions are lurking, but the Packers have the tiebreaker over Detroit. They beat them both times. Packers have really salvaged their season, or got their season back together after those losses to Carolina and to the Eagles, which are really off-putting, particularly offensively. So the Packers are in a good position now. A lot of good NFC teams, and one of them is going to get left out. I mean, you're looking at, the Eagles, Green Bay, Chicago, Detroit, somebody in the South. And then you got the Rams, the Seahawks, the Niners. I expect all 3 of them to make it. And so that leaves one spot for a Dallas or a Detroit or something like that. I think Detroit's going to get in, but Dallas has a pretty easy schedule to end the season, but Detroit has the tiebreaker. Although they won't finish tied because Dallas has the tie to Green Bay. So we'll see in the NFC. But I mean, could Carolina win that division? I mean, the Bucs are just so injured right now. They're losing to Tyler Shook and the Saints. I mean, that is some poverty, I gotta be honest. That's a lot of poverty in that NFC South. Just like in the AFC North, but it feels like even Tampa Bay, like the Steelers aren't gonna lose to the Saints at home. Like, that's just not gonna happen. Both the Bucs and the Cardinals, and the Panthers, pardon me, both those teams lost to the Saints at home within a few weeks. So it is just crazy. The Panthers lose at home to the Saints. They beat the Rams at home. They beat the Packers on the road. They have some great wins, but some really inexplicable losses. So it's whoever's less poverty is going to win this division. They play each other twice in the last 4 weeks. So that will be, I think, determined. And we'll go from there. But, yeah, the Bucs, I mean, just can't be losing at home to New Orleans. But yes, that's what some of these games. I mean, Rams destroyed the Cardinals, Broncos destroyed the Raiders. But how about Kenny Pickett coming in? He threw a touchdown pass. It looked like a nice play. Wonder if they're gonna stick with Pickett or keep riding Geno. I don't even know why Geno was out of this game. It was just because they were getting blown out. That might have been the reason, but Kenny Pickett, 8 of 11 for 97 yards and a touchdown. His QBR, it says, is 16 point. QBR is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I don't understand QBR at all. There's just it inflates some people and really, like, how do you go 8 of 11 for 97 yards in 2 quarters? And your QBR is 16.8. That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Meanwhile, Bo Nix throws a bunch of passes, and his QBR is 76. I feel like there's like a human element. I feel like it's like it favors some teams or what. I don't even know. I don't know what I'm saying, but I think QBR is just I don't think that's a stat that should be taken seriously in pro circles. I got to be honest about that. But how about Buffalo and Cincinnati? The Bills were losing this whole game. Their defense is just not good. You wouldn't know it by watching them play the Steelers last week, but it's not a good defense. And if not for Joe Burrow, a couple really poor interceptions, the one being a pick six, the Bengals were in prime position to win this game. And it's unfortunate, but it just shows the Bills aren't that team this year. And it's sad because Kansas City's out of the way. Now could they, if they play the Steelers, they'd probably beat the Steelers, even on the road. And could they win on the road in Denver? Maybe. In a slugfest, but I just don't think Denver's got a really good defense. I just don't think this is the year for the Bills. If they lose that game, Sean McDermott's name is squarely on the hot seat. I think it might still be regardless, especially if they lose in the first round of the playoffs or something. But Bengals, that's tough for them because if they would have beat the Bills here, they could have won 9-8 and had a chance at the division. They really could have. But it feels like we're saying that every year with the Bengals. They're just coming up just short. They dug themselves too much of a hole. They always start out slow. Burrow gets hurt. He comes back. He wills them to win after win after win. But then they ultimately fall just short. Looks like that's going to happen again with the Cincinnati Bengals really clearing up the field of who's going to be in right now. But Seahawks blow out Atlanta. Falcons eliminated. Commanders lose 31-0 to Vikings. Why is Jane Daniels playing that game? What is the reason to play him? You're eliminated from playoff contention. He's trying to recover. Like, I don't care if he's fully recovered. He shouldn't play the rest of the season. You got to get him all. You want him all rested. and rejuvenated for next season. This season's lost. And so they bring him in, and he gets a little hurt again somehow. And you lose 31-0. Mariota was holding up the fort a little bit. They weren't winning games, but they were very competitive. They almost beat Denver last week. Instead, you lay an egg and you get blown out by J.J. McCarthy. You make him look competent when he really hasn't looked like that all season. Just a head-scratching thing from Washington. And, you're a defensive coach, Dan Quinn. I like Dan Quinn, but, this defense is atrocious. But yeah, anyway, Dolphins blew out the Jets, so that'll be a primetime matchup, Dolphins-Steelers, on Monday Night Football next week. Get your popcorn ready for that one. But yeah, Shedeur, he plays pretty okay. Had some big throws. They threw for a bunch of yards, but a lot of it was after the catch, just the Titans being awful defensively. But the Titans get the win. Just really inexcusable. The Browns outgained the Titans by 120 yards, and special teams, the Browns are a disaster, and Titans, there you go, they get a win. So congrats to Tennessee, good for them. But Cleveland, good for Shedeur, but this defense, I was thinking going into this game, their defense is really good. Tennessee's just a really awful football team, but they gave them opportunities and they win that game. So that's really all the games. Lions beat the Cowboys on Thursday night. Eagles play the Chargers tonight. So that's all the games for Week 14. Looking forward to Week 15. Let's see, Ravens-Bengals. I'd like Cincinnati in that game. Bills-Patriots at 1 o'clock. That should be a Monday night or a Sunday night game. I like New England. I think New England continues their streak here. I think they continue to win. Chargers-Chiefs is big. Outside of that, Packers-Broncos is an interesting game. Lions-Rams is interesting. And then there's Dolphins-Steelers. So there's some interesting games, certainly. There's some games that are snooze fests. But Bills-Patriots will be big. Ravens-Bengals is big. Chargers-Chiefs is big. Packers-Broncos. Lions-Rams, and Dolphins-Steelers, just because the Steelers, if they win, are in really good position to win the division. So, coming up on the other side of this break, final break of the show, I'm going to be talking college football. The CFP Top 12, the playoff field was announced yesterday. I'll give my reaction and break it down and tell you why Miami was right to be put in over Notre Dame. Sports Cube with Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM. And welcome back to the Sports Cube with Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. The college football playoff top 12 has been announced. It was announced on Sunday afternoon. Really not too many surprises. Indiana was 1. They deserved to. They beat the number 1 team, and they were 2 before that. Ohio State's 2. Georgia's 3. Texas Tech is 4. Oregon's 5. Ole Miss is 6. A&M 7. Oklahoma 8. Alabama 9. Miami 10. Tulane 11. James Madison 12. So the two group of 5 teams make it because they are... The ACC champ did not make it because they were not higher ranked. Duke was not higher ranked than Tulane nor James Madison, nor should they have been, for the record. But the committee gets Miami in there for an ACC representative, and that was the big takeaway from the top 12 ranking reaction, reveal, was Miami overtaking Notre Dame and making the playoff. And I kind of saw it coming. I said, especially if the ACC, if Duke wins the ACC, Miami's getting in because, and BYU losing, because BYU losing, they were already not in the field. And now the question of should they BYU's still in the conversation with Alabama not being bumped down, and they got blown out. I mean, that's a conversation you can have. I think everybody looking at it knew that BYU wasn't on the same level of Miami, Notre Dame, or Alabama regardless. And they didn't have the big-time wins. Well, I mean, but to be fair, Notre Dame and Miami didn't have big-time wins either, so that's another argument to be made. But once that happened, Miami and Notre Dame are right next to each other in the rankings. And then when you do an evaluation, they're very similar teams. They're both 10-2. You know, they both strength of schedule is kind of similar. Miami's a little better, but Notre Dame 10-game winning streak to end the season. That's very impressive. Miami just throttled Pitt, a ranked team who's one of the better in the ACC. Oh, well, it looks like Miami beat Notre Dame. Let's rank them ahead. I mean, that makes sense. Let's rank them ahead of Notre Dame. And that's basically what the decision was, and I completely agree with it. Head-to-head has to matter, particularly if it's one of your main criteria, which the committee has said over and over it is. Head-to-head is huge. Texas was 9-3, Vanderbilt's 10-2, but Texas is ahead of Vanderbilt because they're head-to-head, right? I mean, you can go down the list. All of the teams, Texas Tech and BYU, had one loss, but Texas Tech beat BYU, so Texas Tech is ahead, right? That's just what it is. That's only fair. And head-to-head has to matter, or why are you playing the games? Why are the games even played? So I agree with the decision. Now people are angry that this shouldn't even be a conversation. Both of them should be in regardless. And there shouldn't be these group of 5 teams in the playoff unless they are unequivocally one of the top 12 teams. And with Boise last year, there was reason to believe that they were hovering around one of the top 15, at least top 12 teams in the country. People last year had an issue that they were the 4 seed and got a bye, right? And I think that's completely fair. And the committee, they fixed that this season with no byes for the likes of James Madison or Tulane. These group of 5 teams that would make it. And I think that's completely fair. I still like the idea of having a group of 5 team. I think the best group of 5 teams should make it every year, just to see. I mean, and I know people want to see the brands and everything, but if that were the case, say Miami was in the ACC Championship and they win it, well, that takes James Madison out of the way, and then Notre Dame could actually make the playoff, and then both are in, and Tulane, or the American champ, is still in as well. And then everybody is happy, has a good time, and the group of 5 still makes it. I think that would have been the ideal situation. The ACC has to fix their tiebreaker scenarios. Miami definitely should have been in the ACC championship game. Dude, there's no reason for Duke to be in. I think at that point it's just who has the best record, right? These are all 6-2 teams. But Miami beat Pitt, so Miami is ahead of Pitt, as they should. And Miami's 10-2, and these teams are 8-4, 8-4, 7-5. You put Miami in 9-3. You put Miami in the ACC championship against Virginia, and then Miami beats Virginia, and Miami's in. So I think it could have been a lot easier than it ended up being, but that's just how it is. It's college football. It's random. It's wild. Anything can happen. That's what you love about the sport. And I'm looking forward to some of these matchups. JMU Oregon. That's just really tough for James Madison, going all the way across the country out to Oregon in a tough environment. It'll be hard to see James Madison staying in that game, quite frankly. And that's the unfortunate thing about it. But Tulane, Ole Miss. We saw this game earlier in the season. Ole Miss destroyed Tulane. I think I actually picked Tulane to cover that game, and they did not cover whatsoever. So I still think I think Tulane's a little better than they were at that point, but I still think Ole Miss is going to win that game by a couple scores pretty easily. I think Tulane got lucky with North Texas on Friday. North Texas came all the way back, and if there were a little more time, they would have won that game. But Tulane makes the playoff. But I think they stay around. I think James Madison only stay one round this season. I think South Florida, if South Florida would have, I think they're the best team in the group of 5 this year. I think if they would have taken care of business, man, in those 2 games that they were leading against Navy and against Memphis, I think they would be easily in the playoff. And I think that would be an interesting game, South Florida against Ole Miss or whoever. But nonetheless, I mean, Miami A&M, that's a very tight game. That'll be a fun game, I think. And A&M, you know, they coming off the loss. They haven't looked as good the past month. Miami's been on their winning streak to end the season. I think it's going to be a compelling game. And you look at Alabama, Oklahoma, this will be a low. You can tell this is going to be in the teens or in the 20s for sure. I mean, Oklahoma doesn't score anyway. Alabama hasn't been scoring. We saw this game a few weeks ago, and Oklahoma was not the better team, but they got turnovers when they needed them, and they beat Alabama. But I would expect Alabama to win, but I don't have any confidence in that because it's in Norman, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's at home, and it'll be a raucous environment. And then, whoever. So I'm going to talk about the Big Ten Championship now, actually, because there's not really. I mean, Indiana doesn't play anybody yet. They'll play the winner of Alabama, Oklahoma. Texas Tech will play the winner of JMU, Oregon. Georgia will play the winner of Ole Miss, Tulane, and Ohio State will play the winner of Miami A&M. But what a win for Indiana against Ohio State. I mean, both teams were giving it their all. Ohio State, they haven't won the Big Ten in several years. They wanted to prove to Indiana, hey, you know, we're still the big brother like we always have. But Indiana, they came out and their defense was playing really tough, really physical. They really owned the line of scrimmage defensively. And offensively did enough to hold up against that D line for Ohio State. And Mendoza, I tell you what, if I'm the Steelers with these draft picks, with the drafted Pittsburgh, I seriously consider trading up for Fernando Mendoza. I think some of the throws he made against the best defense in the country were spectacular. The touchdown to Sage Surratt was right on the money. The deep balls, he had a couple deep balls. He had the one late, and it was right in the breadbasket to seal the game for Indiana. I mean, what a win. That's clearly far and away the biggest win in Indiana football history. What a win for Indiana. If you're Ohio State like that, now I think the good thing for Ohio State is like, okay, that's a real team. We got to bring our A game, if we want to beat them, or at least even have a chance to beat them going forward. I would expect them to meet again at some point in the playoffs just because I think Indiana is really good. And like last year, you could say, did they belong in the playoff? I don't know. They played a really easy schedule. This year, they blew everybody out, and they could have blown Oregon out, and they had a gritty win, final drive against Penn State in a really tough environment. I think Indiana could win the national championship. I think you're looking at Ohio State or Indiana. I mean, I think Georgia, if they play their best, has a chance, but really I think those are the teams. And Texas Tech, I mean, if they get positive quarterback play, like above and beyond what Morton's been doing this season, I think they can win, but they just settle for field goals too often, I feel like. I feel like they don't punch it in the end zone as much. But their defense is ferocious as well. These are some really good defense. Ohio State, Texas Tech. I think Indiana's defense is really tough as well. Georgia's defense is tough and elite. Georgia destroys Alabama in the SEC championship. And, I mean, it was just start to finish. I mean, Alabama just couldn't do anything offensively. This has been a trend we've seen from Alabama the past several weeks. They had the game 17-0 against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. And they couldn't do anything offensively. They let Auburn back in and eke out a win. We see them lose to Oklahoma. They just haven't scored more than 30 in a while. And they scored like 34 against Tennessee, but the one was a pick six. So it's really like 27 in that game. So, or I think they had 36, either 36 or 34. So either way, it was been under 30 points they scored. So if you're an Alabama fan, that really has to concern you. You have no run game. Ryan Williams hasn't performed all season. And Ty Simpson hasn't been good the past several games. That's the concern you for Alabama. I just don't see a scenario where Alabama wins the national championship this season. I just think they're not as good as Georgia, or certainly not Ohio State or Indiana. And that's I'm really happy for Indiana, for their program. I mean, obviously the biggest win in program history on Saturday. They never beat Ohio State, and they're always 28-point underdogs, 30-point underdogs to Ohio State. And for them to play like that was really great to see. And Cignetti's a tremendous football coach. But, yeah, Notre Dame, they opted out of their bowl game too. And I just didn't like that. I just think, it's a bad thing for the sport. They could have played BYU. They could have got extra practices for their seniors who are going to be graduating. They didn't know it, but playing Stanford was the last game of some of their careers. And some of them won't make the NFL. A lot of them won't. And they'll be moving on, and that was their last game, and they didn't even know it. That's what's tough. And now you opt out of the bowl game, and it's a bad look. It's like, oh, we didn't get our way, so we're just going to... And the other teams, like Iowa State and Kansas State, they opted out of their bowls, but they had so many injuries, and they had coaching changes. Like, you can understand it a little bit. I think opting out of these bowl games is not a good thing for the sport. I like bowl games. I think they're fun. The players like playing in them. A lot of times you go to the beach or you go somewhere nice, and it's a vacation for the players. They get to spend time with each other. I like the bowl games, and I think a lot of, like, the players do, I think the fans do, especially if it's a game that, it's a really big game for the fans. So I just think that sets a bad precedent. You don't want it to be like in college basketball where these teams opt out of the NIT. The NIT and some of these tournaments, that's not the same as these bowl games. These bowl games are one game on national television for your players, and for one last game for some of your players, and to close out the careers with the program. I just don't like what Notre Dame did there. Oh, we didn't get our way, we're going to pout and moan. Oh, and the AD or whoever for Notre Dame, the president, whoever it was, saying, the ACC has tarnished their reputation with us. And it's like, dude, you're not in that conference. Like, it's like you're not in the conference. Why would they have any reason to promote you? You could have joined. The ACC wanted you to join the conference. You said no. Why would the ACC be praising you? Especially if the ACC is trying to get one team in and you stand in the way potentially. So I just thought that was stupid. But Notre Dame, they just have this entitlement over their program, and they haven't done anything in 30 years. Like, we have to be honest. And they made the national championship last year, but they were outclassed by Ohio State. I love Marcus Freeman, I really do. And I like the Notre Dame brand and everything, but I hate when they get all entitled. Oh, we got our own network and everything. Oh, we're independent. If they were in a conference, they'd be in the playoffs, and that's completely on them. So that'll do it for the Sports Scoop today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'll be back at some point in January, when everybody comes back for off a break. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's been a great semester here. It's been a great year. 2025, it's coming to an end already almost. We got the holidays coming up. Spend time with your family. And until next year, Sports Scuba Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM.